Have you ever found yourself being a bit of a people pleaser? Have you ever found yourself saying, well, if you're happy, then I'm happy? Well, it was 1981 and I was 20 years old. I had a car. It was a Morris Marina, very box shaped, and it was kind of tan colour, mustardy colour, really yucky colour, a bit of a rust bucket. Got it for £500. It was my first car. And I'm there outside Dawn's house with Dawn in the car next to me. Now Dawn is 18, she's stunning, blonde, beautiful. And I was very lucky to be able to call her my girlfriend. I'm just dropping her off. We've been for a little drive around and I'm just dropping her off at her house. She turns to me and says, Steve, you can't come in. Mum and Dad wouldn't like it. They're not too keen on you, to be fair. They don't like me seeing you. It's not you, it's me. You see, what it is you come from a broken family, you know, divorced parents. You don't have much money. My dad says I could do better. He says I should find a rich farmer's son and marry a rich farmer. He'd be happy then for me. He said that's the way for life. And he says, you know, you're not doing yourself any favours, Steve, because you're not passing your professional exams. I can't see the future for us. I can't see that we're going to be happy if my parents aren't accepting you and my dad says you're a loser. Well done. I love you very much, and if you're happy, then I'm happy, whatever that means. If that's what you want, then that's what I want for you. I just want you to be happy. So now it's 20 years later, and I'm head of pensions and investments and innovation at Santander. Well, it was Abbey National at the time, and it's in Milton Keynes, in the head office there of Abbey National at Abbey House, and we're kind of in this ground floor, huge open plan place. It looks, although it's ground floor, there seems to be no windows, there's all blinds down because this is the IT department, and there's a lot of kind of techies, nerdy types sat at the computers typing away in this huge open plan, dark and dismal place. And in an office in the corner is Ambrose McGinn. He's the IT director. He's round, plump, middle-aged guy, bit of an alpha male, a bit intimidating to talk to, and I've got a meeting with him about my business plan. Hi Ambrose, so what do you think of the business plan? Well, Steve, what's the bottom line? What profit does it make? What's the 3-year MPV? Well, Ambrose, it is 25 million, so we'd make a profit 25 million. 25 million? The board wouldn't even get out of bed for anything less than 30. You have to go away, Steve, and come back with another plan. You see, what I'd done is I'd gone from a big fish in a small pond, which was head of pensions for a company that's now Royal London, where I achieved great success, growing the business 30% a year for every year for 6 years. For the last 6 years I was there, but there was something wrong with the financial industry. Can't quite put a finger on it. But what it meant was those insurance companies had to lay off 60,000 financial advisors, which meant that 60% of the population no longer had access to an advisor who would call, it's called home service, would call round in their home and talk to them about their finances. So I had no encouragement at all about saving, thrift or wealth. 60% of the population. So I had to leave the insurance company when that happened. I joined the banks. And I was just learning the ropes really on how to create businesses that the banks would be interested in. And I did a lot of reading at the time, and one book particularly struck me, and that was Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it was habit number 4, which was about win-win. That means if the kind of shareholders are happy and the customers happy, that's a win-win scenario. And to be effective, you need to find these win-win scenarios. And I really cracked it, and I thought, that's great. So that's what I'll do. I'll just plan win-win scenarios. So it's now 2011. I've been doing this win-win scenarios for about 10 years. And I made my way now to head of investments at HSBC. Wow, I was a winner, no longer a loser. At least I thought so on the outside. But looking closely at my pay slip, I noticed that although it had been going up and I was now on 6 figures, I was bringing after tax and pension contributions about £5,500 in a month, which is pretty good. But I was living in Canary Wharf in London, which was a riverside apartment, which was costing me £2,500 a month in mortgage. And also, I was now on my 2nd marriage. And although Liz had been professional, I thought, I'd learned a lesson from the 1st marriage. If you're kind of the breadwinner and you get divorced, then you lose half of everything, don't you, really? So I kind of wanted to have a bit more of an equal relationship. But as soon as we got married, as soon as we lived together, actually, Liz had given up her job and was relying on me. So this £2,000 I had left, we had to share between us for holidays and food and things. And at the end of the day, although I was a very successful product manager, proposition architect, I had very little to show for it. I had nothing to show for it. So this win-win thing, it was like the bank was winning, the customers winning, but I was losing. And I tried to get bigger and bigger. Yeah, 50 million, 100 million pound businesses. I was now doing every year, year after year, £1 billion business, building £1 billion business in sales. We take £1 billion year 1, £1 billion year 2, and then they'd forget about that. So that was last year, Steve. You need £1 billion business this year. So I had to create a new £1 billion business every single year. And I was looking at my page, I'm creating £1 billion business for the bankers. And what do I get to show for it? Guess what? Not a lot. The crux came in December 2011 when I think I'd figured what was happening with the financial industry, what the problem was. The financial industry is the least trusted of all industries globally in every market around the world. And trust is what mattered most to customers. So if I could create a trusted advisor, then I've cracked a bigger problem. This could be a £10 billion project. That is a win-win-win for the customers. They get a trusted advisor, win for the bank. They get something called a customer relationship dividend, which is because of trust, they get a lot more investments, a lot happier customers, longer lasting customers, that sort of thing. So I put a proposal together, run a pilot, proved the concept, and everything was A-OK. So I was in the meeting room at 8 Canada Square, Canary Wharf, waiting for David. It was what I call the wobbly tower. On level 41, you could notice the wobble in the bottles of water on the table. I felt it in my own stomach at the time. Maybe it's apprehension. In he walks. There's David. Hi David, how did it go? What did the board have to say about the proposal? Steve, the board have decided not to go ahead with your proposal. David was tall, middle-aged, dark hair, very smart dress suit. He had a bit of white skin, very red lips. He didn't say much, but what he did say kind of rattled me to the core. Steve, what we decided to do instead is we've decided to focus on debt. We're going to actually lay off all the financial advisors across the whole industry. All the banks are going to do the same, because It's a zero-sum game wealth. We never make any money at that. So what we've decided to do for the next decade is focus on debt, and we can then pay the shareholders a great big quarterly profit, and we can pay ourselves great big bonuses. David, you pay yourself a great big bonus, but as staff we don't get much. You know, I was looking at my pay. Steve, it's, you know, it'll happen in the long run. You know, it's a kind of long game for you. Just keep doing what you're doing. You know, and by the way, you've not delivered £1 billion project this year. David, the trusted advisor, that could be £1 billion project. Like I said, Steve, we're getting rid of all the advisors. There you go. David, I don't like making money for shareholders and making bonuses for the directors when my kind of paycheck has not changed since I started here, and we're shafting now. I mean, if all the advisors go, that's 95% of the population will no longer have access to financial advisors. What about them? It's not a win for customers. It's not a Stephen Covey win-win. It's a win for you. It's a win for the shareholders. It's a loss for me and a loss for customers. 95% of the population watch. So that was it. Decision was made. So have you ever been in a position where you've been helping other people win that you don't really like much, at the expense of losses of people actually you quite like? Well, that's where I was that day, and I made a decision. I thought, well, I've got this trusted advisor model. Why don't I be a trusted advisor? Why don't I go and help the 95% of people who now disintermediated by the banks and by the insurance companies who have got to be saddled with unsecured debt equivalent to half their annual pay? Perhaps I could help them with financial programs, and yeah, I'll just see them. So that's what I decided to do. It wasn't easy. I doubted if I could succeed, because I was going from a 6-figure salary to no salary to the real world of being self-employed, being a solopreneur, and that's kind of, I just didn't know how to make that work. And I couldn't really make it work, to be fair. I was distracted. I had to take on any job, anything to pay the bills. I had savings, I had little savings, I had about £50,000. I had to set up the business and start running. First 18 months I managed to get a couple of dozen customers come in, but you know, I was just exchanging my time for money. And I'd forgotten something about myself that was really important. And I just carried on regardless. So, 18 months later, the money had run out. The money had run out, and so had the missus. Yeah, I was on my own, and now broke. In fact, I had debt, credit card debt, and the bank was playing hell with me about this mortgage on a house that my missus lived in. There was supposed to be a flexible mortgage, and they wouldn't let me flex it. So I was in a real pickle. It was kind of loss. Yeah, I'd helped 24 people. And looking back on it, I can see how I'd helped them to be successful in their lives. So it's a win for 24 people, but a loss for me. And I was really rock bottom at this point. So let me take you to a few years later. It was 2017 actually, in Harrogate in Woods, and I was walking the dog with Buddy, and I was with my new partner Trish. Well, we've been together a few years now. We actually live together. She's blonde, short blonde hair, tall, very pretty, and she's a palliative care nurse, so very caring, and she's quite spiritual. a bit like me, so I thought we were very compatible. And I was walking with Buddy, and he was sniffing around some sticks in the corner. I saw some red mushrooms in the corner. I thought, red mushrooms. So I took a photograph of them. I thought, isn't red like the warning signal of nature? I hadn't seen it coming. Trish turns to me. Steve, I've got something I want to say to you. It's not you, it's me. Dad, you know he doesn't like you. He thinks you're a bit of a loser, giving up that job in the city. He blames you that the fact we struggle financially. And I had to sell my house because I had a load of debt and I had to repay my debt, and he thinks that's because of you. I know you've kind of been bringing in what you can, your fair share, and I know I've got 4 kids, Steve, and you're feeding them and taking care of them and everything, but it's not the way my dad sees it. And if a family are a problem for us, then there's not much future for us. So what I've decided to do, Steve, is buy a house. I've decided that I need to live with my kids on my own, and my dad is so upset with me. He's even written me out of his will. Now I can't it's not about me, it's about the kids, Steve. And don't worry, Trish, I love you very much. And if you're happy, then I'm happy. What do you need? Steve, I need £40,000 deposit could you manage that? Of course, Trish, yeah. I don't have much left, but I got that, and you can have that. We'll come to some arrangement and I'll find my own place. So that's what I did. But there was something wrong with my business. It's been 5 years now, and I've just been helping people one by one by one. One by one by one. It was a win for the customers, but a loss for me. Hang on a minute. Wasn't I this great business planner? That was what I'd forgotten. I've been this life and money planner for one by one by one, but I've forgotten about being a business planner. Yeah, I've been planning accidentally my clients' businesses, and they were really successful, 7-figure solopreneurs. But me, I wasn't. I'd forgotten. I'd forgotten that I'm not just a life planner and a financial planner and award-winning I was award-winning, multi-market leading, billion-pound producing business planner. Can't I just look at my own business? And then other people started to tell me the same thing. So I decided that I needed what's called a one-to-many business, where I'm not exchanging my time for money, but exchanging my know-how for money. I could productize it. It was Andy Harrington's course, because I decided to invest in myself. I thought, well, to do a one-to-many model, I need to be a good presenter on stage. So I went along to the Professional Speakers University, and then joined the Professional Speakers Academy, and even went on to become a elite member of the Professional Speakers Academy. And I learned that, yeah, it's a one-to-many business is what you need. You need to exchange your know-how for money, not your time. So that's what I did. What I did was I took the last of my savings. This is my financial future here I'm gambling with. I can't tell anyone. Not I've got anyone anymore. Everyone's walked out on me. I'm just living on my own. So that's what I did. Sometimes in life, we take a risk. We take a huge risk. And if we look back on my life, I think, well, the greatest risk I took was not doing what I want on the bet I could buy my freedom later. And now I was looking at that stack of pension pot and thinking that's all I've got left, and I've got this one opportunity, so that's going to have to go, regardless of the tax consequences, which are horrendous, by the way. That's going to have to go. I'm going to have to invest in myself. So that's how I funded my training on the Professional Speakers Academy. The other thing I thought I needed to do was be an authority. So I used another 25,000. So it was 25,000 on my speaking, 25,000 on training to be an author. Because I didn't just want a book that got thrown away. I wanted a good book. So that's what I did. But people would say to me, Steve, you're this loser. You know, you're nobody. Who's going to listen to you? So it was a year later, in 2017. I was at the House of Parliament in London. I'd been volunteering my time. So yeah, I've been giving up time and not getting money for it as well. I was an ambassador for transparency. I was trying to restore trust and confidence in the financial industry in my spare time. And I was an award-winning ambassador. And I'd been asked to present a paper to Parliament, a white paper on market integrity. And that's what I did. So Parliament we get these kind of wooden panels and green leather kind of crown embossed chairs around this room with Vince Cable, and Lords and MPs in the room, and I'm presenting my paper, my findings, looking at the financial industry, and what's missing is trust and confidence, and this is what needs to be done. And as a result of that, we have established an all-party parliamentary group to look at financial stability 10 years on since the banking crisis, what lessons have been learned. I'm now an authority in my own right, not because of a label of being head of investments HSBC, or head of investments at Santander, or head of investments RBS, or former chair of the British Bankers Association steering group. Those are labels. I am here because I am Steve Conley, and I'm speaking to Parliament, advising the Parliament on money and life and integrity. I'm now an authority. Also, through my work with the Professional Speakers Academy, I've developed a business model that I've productized what I do and how I do it, and I've included about the inner life, not just the outer life, and I've made it my own and different and effective, and all these hundreds of people that I've helped with achieve millions and billions, I've now productized into this system that I can apply for my clients as a system on a one-to-many basis. Also, I'm now an author. In June, my first book is published. It's called Your Money or Your Life. And also, I'm organising events and speaking at my own events. Before I was a speaker at multi-events. It's a very small multi-event speaker, but now I was running my own programme. So gradually, little by little, I'm building up this one-to-many businesses, what I call a move from lifestyle business, which is where you exchange your time for money, to an equity-based business. And I'm using my skills not just as the life planner and a financial planner, but as a business planner. For my clients, I call it the game plan. It's all in one plan, and I'm using it not just on my clients, I'm also using it on myself. You see, the thing is that we often forget, we make the mistake of when we say yes to other people, we've got to make sure that we're not saying no to ourselves. So don't be the people pleaser. Don't say if you're happy then I'm happy. The thing is, you've got to be happy in order to help other people to be happy.